So firstly then, if we begin with the Witr Prayer, if we discuss the Witr Prayer firstly, one of the reasons why we would begin with the Witr Prayer is because the Witr Prayer is one of the most emphasized optional prayers. This is one of the most stressed optional prayers in the Sunnah, that a Muslim really should pray the Witr Prayer. It is very emphasized, very stressed in the Sunnah regarding the Witr Prayer and the importance of it. Some of the scholars, they even have the opinion that the Witr Prayer is an obligation. You're supposed to pray it and you can't miss it. But many of the scholars have mentioned it is from the most emphasized of the supererogatory prayers. And the Muslims, no doubt, when we talk about the ruling of that prayer, are agreed. There is an agreement amongst the scholars, the Muslims, about the legislation of the Witr Prayer. Nobody disagrees and says there's no such thing as a Witr Prayer. Everybody is agreed upon the legislation of the Witr Prayer. Here we see an example of what the Salaf used to say. Al-Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, he mentioned, Man taraka al-witra amdan fahuwa rajulun su' or rajulu su' la yanbaghi an tuqbal shahadatuh. Whoever leaves the Witr Prayer on purpose, just doesn't bother praying it, leaves the Witr Prayer on purpose, then he is an evil man. Statement of Imam Ahmad. Whoever leaves the Witr Prayer on purpose, just doesn't want to pray, can't be bothered, doesn't pray it, leaves it on purpose, then he is an evil man. لا تقبل أو لا ينبغي أن تقبل شهادته. It is not suitable to take the testimony of such a person. Such a person who abandons the Witr Prayer on purpose, can't be bothered, doesn't pray it, then it is like the Salaf used to say, his dignity is gone. What type of a believer is this? Can't be bothered to pray the Witr Prayer, a short prayer at the end of the day. Al-Imam Ahmad said his dignity, meaning his dignity is gone, such that you can't take his testimonies. He comes and gives you a testimony about something, don't accept his testimony, don't take his word for it. Evil man, never even prays his Witr Prayer. This is how they used to say, this is what they used to mention. Such is the importance of these prayers. So what is exactly the Witr Prayer then? The Witr Prayer, it is a raka'ah, or it could be 3 raka'at, or it could be 5 raka'at, 7 raka'at, 11 raka'at. The odd number, whether it is 1 or 3 or 5 or 7 or 9 or 11, the odd numbered prayer at the end of the day, that is the Witr Prayer. So the Witr is the final odd raka'ah, the odd numbered prayer. That is the final prayer of the day. The scholars have mentioned the time for when the Witr Prayer is supposed to be prayed. And the time for it is when? When does the time for Witr Prayer begin? Nobody knows when you're supposed to pray Witr. After Isha. So the Witr Prayer begins after Isha, and you can carry on praying it up until what time? Up until the Fajr time enters. Up until the Fajr time enters. And that is mentioned in Al-Bukhari and in Muslim regarding how the Witr Prayer begins in the night after the Isha, and it can carry on up until the Sahar, meaning the Fajr time entering. And there are many ahadith regarding the Witr Prayer. Many ahadith regarding the Witr Prayer and the importance of praying it. And the scholars have mentioned if a person is sure that they are going to get up in the last third of the night to pray some optional prayer, then they should not pray their witr after Isha. If you're sure, definitely you're going to wake up in the last third of the night, then don't pray your witr after Isha. Pray your Isha, go to sleep, wake up in the last third of the night, pray your supererogatory prayer, and then at the end of it, pray your witr prayer. But if you are not sure, you're not sure that you will be waking up in the last third of the night, in that case the scholars say pray it after your Isha. And there's a narration regarding that. It is mentioned in the hadith in Sahih Muslim of Jabir عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أيكم خاف ألا يقوم من آخر الليل فليوتر ثم ليرقد. Any of you, if you fear that you won't get up in the last third of the night, then pray your witr, then lie down and go to sleep. وَمَنْ وَثِقَ بِقِيَامِهِ مِنْ آخِرِ اللَّيْلِ فَلْيُوتِرْ مِنْ آخِرِهِ. But whomsoever is certain, you're sure, you will be getting up, in that case leave it and pray it when you get up in the last third of the night. فَلْيُوتِرْ مِنْ آخِرِهِ فَإِنَّ قِرَاءَةَ آخِرِ اللَّيْلِ مَشْهُودَ وَذَلِكَ أَفْضَلُ. Because the recitation in the last third of the night is witnessed, and that is better. So if you are certain you're gonna get up, then leave the witr prayer till later on in the last third of the night. When you wake up, you pray some prayer, pray some supererogatory prayer, some raka'at. Then at the end of it, pray your witr. But if you're not sure you're gonna get up, you're not sure if you're gonna make it up, then in that case, after your Isha, pray the witr and go to sleep. That is what the scholars they mention regarding it. Witr prayer, how many raka'at is it? The minimum witr prayer can be is how many raka'at? One raka'ah. Minimum for the witr prayer, it's got to be one raka'ah. It could be 3 raka'at, it could be 5 raka'at, it could be 7 raka'at, it could be 9 raka'at, could be 11 raka'at, and possibly even 13 raka'at. For these prayers, if it is more than one that you pray, if it is 3 or 5 or 7 or 9 or 11 or 13 possibly, then in that case the scholars say you should pray in twos. 2, give the salam, 2 again, give the salam, 2 again, give the salam, until eventually at the end you pray 1. So you end up with an odd number in the end. And that is mentioned from various narrations. Hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يصلي بالليل 11 ركعة. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to pray 11 raka'at. He used to pray 11 raka'at. And then يوتر منها بواحدة. He used to make the witr with one of them. So 10 raka'at in pairs, and then the 11th, the one by itself, the odd number, witr. So then this was in the odd numbers of that nature. يصلي بالليل 11 ركعة يوتر منها بواحدة. 11 raka'at, and the odd one at the end, making it into the odd number. Also, if a person was to pray with more than just one, there are different combinations that you can do with that prayer. So if a person prayed, for example, 9 raka'at, then you can pray 8 in a row. 8 in a row. No salam, no sitting down. Carry on getting up every time. 8 raka'at in a row. Then at the end of the 8th one, you sit down and make a tashahhud. And then get up again. No salam. 8 raka'at in a row. Sit down and make the tashahhud and then get up. pray the ninth, then sit down and make the full tashahhud and the final salam. That is a possibility, and it is mentioned in the sunnah. If a person prayed 7 or 5 raka'at, then it's possible not to sit at all. Pray all 5 in a row, and at the end of the 5th one, just sit down and do the tashahhud and the du'as and make your salam. 7 raka'at, it is possible to do the same. Pray 7 all in a row. At the end of the 7th one, sit down, read all of the sittings or the readings of the sitting, the tashahhud, etc., and make the salam at the end. So these types of combinations are possible for that witr prayer. So this is the first one that we'll mention from these optional prayers, and that is the witr prayer. And this is an extremely important prayer. It is mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ used to pray it even when traveling. So the witr prayer has a great importance, and it is one of the most emphasized, most important optional prayers.